Tonight, President William Ruto has equated teachings of Pastor Paul Mackenzie to terrorism. The president, while appreciating constitutionally guaranteed freedom of religion, warned against advancement of wrong ideologies that risk the erosion of the constitution. The president spoke amidst a flurry of questions over failure by the government security, intelligence gathering and community policing. And as Ayub Abdikadir reports, Ruto says Mackenzie belongs in prison.
2 weeks into the Shakahola massacre, the president has broken his silence on the horrific deaths in the county of Kilifi, saying people like Paul Mackenzie belong to prison. The head of state drew equivalence between acts of terrorism and the controversial Pastor Paul Mackenzie's actions, cautioning against the use of religion to undermine societal progress.
What we are seeing in Kilifi, in Shakahola, is akin to terrorists. There is no difference between Mr. Mackenzie, who pretends and postures as a pastor, when in fact he is a terrible criminal. Terrorists use religion to advance their heinous acts. People like Mr. Mackenzie are using religion to do exactly the same thing.
Speaking in Ruiru in the county of Kiambu during the passing out parade of Kenya Prison Service cadets, the president described Mackenzie as a criminal disguised as a priest and called for swift investigations of persons riding on religion to spread wrong ideologies.
I have instructed the agencies responsible to take up the matter and to get to the root cause and to the bottom of the activities of religious or people who want to use religion to advance weird, unacceptable ideology.
This as questions mounted over the apparent failure by security agencies, including the National Intelligence Service, despite a whopping budget of 36.127 billion in the financial year ending June for its operations. Yet, Mackenzie carried on with his cultist act that is believed to have been going on for many years. Senate Speaker Amason Kingi weighed in on the massacre, attributing the cult deaths to inability by the National Intelligence Agency and community policing program to act, and raising a number of questions. How did such heinous crime, organized and executed over a considerable period of time, escape the radar of our intelligence system? How did evil of such an astounding magnitude take place without being detected? How did the pastors gather so many people, indoctrinated, brainwashed and starved them to death in the name of religion, and then buried them in a forest without being detected? But the Senate Speaker served as Kilifi County Governor for 10 years. How did inhumane acts of such grade escape the attention of the County Security Committee, who issued the permits for burial of people who died in Shakahola? How did this escape the Nyumba Kumi initiative, chiefs, their assistants, ward administrators and village elders? Questions that the government has to ponder even as the administrators talk tough, rather belatedly. President William Ruto further warned against the abuse of freedom of worship to undermine the law, which he said would not be entertained by his administration.
That any religious group that preaches against the tenets of the Constitution, those responsible should be prosecuted. Those institutions and those religious institutions should be closed down because they are working against the collective interest of the people of Kenya.
After a long silence from government on the Shakahola graves in the county of Kilifi, President William Ruto has warned against the use of religions to undermine the Constitution. But the very same Constitution does not grant the president prosecutorial powers, effectively passing the pressure on state agencies to unearth not only the graves in Shakahola, but also explain to the Kenyan people how such acts of inhumane scale passed under their radar undetected. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV, Ruiru in Kiambu.